My room's a mess, we're gonna embrace it. Hi everyone! I don't know why, every time I say that I just feel so like inside. Not weird. I'm wearing my Alice in Wonderland sweatshirt mostly because I found it on the floor of my closet and thought, oh my god, I forgot I owned you. Haven't worn you in over 2 years. But also because today is my day off. It's Friday. I had to dress up for a few appointments this morning, so when I came home I needed something that felt like nothing, and then I was trying to think of what to film because I want to film a video today, and I realized that based on the questions that I am getting over on my giveaway, if you are not aware, I'm having a giveaway on my main channel. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed and leave a question for my Q&A in the certain video. I'll link it down below if you want to enter that because it's still open. Speaking of the giveaway, I'm keeping everything for the giveaway on the floor. Yep. That's the safest place for it. I mean, I'm keeping myself on the floor most of the time anyways. Don't worry about it. Out of all the questions I'm getting, a lot of you guys know me. The questions aren't just like, what's your favorite color? They're, what do you look for in a book? Do you need anything to write with? They're all anchored towards who I am as a person, and I love that. And I'm so excited to address these, and it makes me so happy that I'm able to connect to whoever's watching my videos on that level to a point where they understand me and they can think of questions that I would enjoy answering. Last weekend, Minnesota had this huge heat wave. It was almost 60 degrees. Can you believe it? I'm like half being sarcastic, half not, because it was really warm for February. So I spent the day out and about, you know, just doing me in the city, and I went to a few bookstores. I was so excited. If you follow me on Snap, you definitely saw me snapping the shit out of that day because it was beautiful. I just get such a thrill from spending hours and hours in bookstores, just sitting on the floors and aisles reading backs of books. Sometimes I read a few chapters. Let's be honest, sometimes I will skim an entire book because I'm not going to pay that much money for it, but I really wanted to read it. I've done that before. But anyways, I may have done some damage to my bank account for educational purposes, and I wanted to share with you because this is my vlog channel where I can post whatever I want from wherever I need. Yeah. Yep, you're recording. I got such good deals and I got so many good reads that I want to share it with you guys. So I'm going to start, although it's not a favorite bookstore of mine, TBH, I went to Barnes & Noble because it was very close to a coffee shop that I was editing at. Because Barnes & Noble is kind of expensive, I don't like to buy books there, you know, unless my writing is in it. In that case, I've bought a few magazines. But anyways, they had like their buy two, get the third book free. And usually I can never find 3 books that I love enough to purchase 2 of them. But this time I did, and I think I was just in such a really, really good place on Saturday, and I know I'm getting really, like, way too sentimental and, like, meaningful about I bought a book, but I was in a very good place. So I got Sharp Objects. It's by the same person that wrote Gone Girl. I have not read Gone Girl, mostly because I fear it's like the Hunger Games, Twilight, Harry Potter thing, and I don't like to read what everybody is reading. Is that weird? It's called Sharp, yeah, did I say it's called Sharp Objects? Basically, a really good friend of mine, shout out to you, I love you, has been recommending this book for a while. I feel like it's something I'm really gonna love. There's this huge review by Stephen King on the back, and it's just, I know it's gonna be really good. I've heard such great things. Based on the plot and what it's about, if you are not familiar, it's basically through the perspective of a reporter who stayed in a psych hospital and returns home to cover the she must return to her tiny hometown to cover the murders of 2 preteen girls. It's gonna be really good. And then, out of the 3 books, with one of them free, I got this memoir. It's called Glitter and Glue. I love memoirs. It's one of my favorite genres of books to read, and also write. I write a lot of memoir, creative nonfiction type of stuff. The reason this stuck out to me is because it's a mother-daughter memoir. That topic of mother-daughter, it's very complex. I read a lot about it, I write a lot about it. It's just something I know I'm going to love and probably inspired me to write more about it. It's just interesting. That's all I'm going to say. For like the free book, I guess I got At the Water's Edge. It is by the same person, Sarah Gruen, who wrote Water for Elephants, which was a pretty solid read. This one is about hunting down the famous Loch Ness Monster, and it takes place in the 40s. So we'll see if I like that. I'll let you know. If you've read it, let me know. I'm not sure. And finally, if you haven't noticed by my shirt, I have a love for Lewis Carroll and Alice and Wonderland. I think for the longest time it was my Instagram bio. It's like, I'm not Alice, but this is my Wonderland, or something like that. I was really into it, and Tumblr, and everything that this stands for. I'm not going to get into it. I already own Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I used it for a class, so it was the publisher that my professor wanted us to have, but I saw this wonderful rendition at Barnes & Noble on sale. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. It's pink. It's huge. Look at the back. We've got the T. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Basically, the reason it's so big is because this not only has Alice in Wonderland, but it also has Through the Looking Glass, which is actually my favorite. I prefer that over Alice in Wonderland because in Through the Looking Glass, she's older. She serves a purpose in this world on the other side of the glass. It's not Wonderland, but it is in a way. A lot of my favorite scenes as a child when watching the Disney rendition of the movie, they're actually scenes taken from The Looking Glass. If you aren't familiar with these two stories, I definitely recommend reading it. It's very different than if you watched it growing up. It also has a lot of his short stories in here. Some of them I'm not familiar with, so I'm super excited to read that. And just, it's so beautiful. They have the original illustrations that are in almost every single publishing version of this, and they're just, I'm super excited. I'll have to reread it in this new format and see what I discover, because if you reread books, you usually discover... Okay, I need to stop rambling. Next, I went to Majors and Quinn in Uptown, which is my favorite bookstore ever. It's huge. It's got a million books, and all of the prices are so affordable. I think all of these books were about $6, $7, or $8. I just could spend hours in there, and I did. Let's see. I got 9 Stories by J.D. Salinger. I hope I'm saying that right, otherwise... Last year, I read The Catcher in the Rye. I really loved it. It was so simple and yet so complex at the same time. It's one of those books I wish I got the chance to read in the classroom, because I'm sure there were topics and elements of discussion that went over my head because I didn't have a teacher or professor directing me to think in that certain direction. I got this mostly because of the publisher and this type of cover, because The Catcher in the Rye that I own looks the same as this, so they're gonna look really nice next to each other. But also, I do enjoy his formatting and his style of writing, and short stories are another thing, like memoirs, that I think I enjoy. I want to start reading more of them because I write a lot of short stories. Oh, I also read Franny and Zoe by him as well. I wish it was as good as I wanted it to be. Maybe I missed something. It was still a great read, but I just felt like I was missing an element that I was supposed to be picking up on. So, 9 Stories, A Haunted House and Other Stories by Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf might be my very favorite, more classic, I mean, she's a modern writer, but I consider her to be like a classic. Does that make sense? She's my favorite. I love her style. She writes in the way that I think, and that is the fact that she has sentences that go on for chapters, and my mind seems to form sentences that never end. If you can't tell, sometimes I talk a lot. When I write, I'm the same way. I have sentences that are incredibly long. What Virginia Woolf does really well is she takes you not to a plot, but to a character's mind, and you kind of go from this perspective that at the time of her writing this was very new and modern, and something that I'm trying to think of Faulkner did as well. I'm not sure who else at the moment, I'm trying to think, but it was this new era of writing, and I think Woolf does a really wonderful job at capturing that and creating all these thoughts to the page that people before her have never had, which is amazing. And she always references older writers and just themes and art and everything. Like, she found a way to connect like modern art and abstract art on a canvas to the world of a writer. And let's see, I read oh my gosh, To the Lighthouse, A Room of One's Own, and then Jacob's Room by her. And this one, I'm excited because I've never actually heard of A Haunted House, but besides that, probably because it's just a short story. This entire book is full of short stories. Oh my gosh, it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know. It has a lot of, I'm excited. Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises. I believe this is his most well-known work. I've always heard the title, seen it, but I've never read it. And I read, I think 2 of his other pieces. I've read The Old Man and the Sea, and then some of his, did he write poetry? Am I making that up? I hope he did, because I feel like I've read things by him in high school. I just have high hopes. I think I'm really gonna like it. Tim O'Brien, In the Lake of the Woods. I read The Things I Carried by Tim O'Brien in high school. To be honest, I loved and hated it at the same time. I thought I hated it more, but looking back, I think I would really like it if I reread it. It was just who I was at the time, who was teaching. Anyways, you don't care about that. The reason this stuck out to me, not because Tim O'Brien wrote it, but more because as I was reading the back, they mentioned Minnesota, and I'm from Minnesota, so there's that connection, and I want to see how they do that. Basically, man and wife, they retreat to a lakeside cabin in northern Minnesota. His writing is pretty good, so I'm excited to see this. I hope I feel a connection to Minnesota when they talk talk about that. That's my favorite part about finding that. You don't really care. Okay, look at that. It's my boyfriend. It's my boyfriend. If you didn't know, that was Kurt Vonnegut. I love Vonnegut. Some of my favorite quotes come from his writing. This is, "If this isn't nice, what is?" And it's just a collection of all of his graduation speeches, which I found to be really amazing, especially since Vonnegut himself actually left school. He didn't end up graduating. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, it said Vonnegut never graduated college. So the fact that he's writing all these speeches for college graduates, and just his success and his view on the world and how wonderful he is as a writer, I'm so excited to read these speeches that he gave. I love Vonnegut so much. So I'm excited to own this and to read it. Hands down, absolute favorite writer of all time is Jodi Picoult. I have a lot of memories attached to her writing. She grew up with me. I read her books since 8th grade, and every single one has touched me in such an amazing way. I only allow myself to read them in the summer because that's when I started reading her books, and it's just, I get to look forward to it every year. I'm so excited. And I have read, I'm looking over my bookshelf now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've read 15 of her works so far, but looks like one slipped, and I never got to read this. When I saw this at the bookstore and I picked it up, when you read all of her books, a lot of them they don't overlap in plots, but they all kind of carry the same writing style, and I wasn't even sure if I read The Pact by her, but I read the back and I don't think I have. So this is so exciting. When was this written? 1998. Okay, so it's a little older, must be why. Gosh, I love her work so much. I think when I write, I kind of mimic the way she writes. I'm not saying I write like Jodi because she's amazing, but I do have such a connection to her works, and every single book is amazing. If you want a solid fiction read that grips you so much, and just plot twists, voice, character development, everything, pick up one of her books. I know there are some that are skeptical, like my mother, who thinks she's just a fiction, typical writer, but she's very successful. Her writing, wow. So, yay, I have another one to read. Okay, and then I picked up another memoir. It's called Her, and it's by Christina Paravani. Haunting, more than a beautifully written memoir, a powerful and raw love letter. I found this book about a year ago. I know because I took a picture of it. I meant to go back and buy it. I just never did until now. Again, it's a memoir. I love memoirs. They get me going. And this one is about twins, if you couldn't tell, but one of the twins actually dies. She falls victim to a shocking act of brutality. Based on the back, it just says, studies of twins have shown that when an identical twin dies, regardless of the cause, the surviving twin's life is immediately at risk. First, Krista fought to keep her sister alive, then she struggled to keep from drowning in her loss. I'm so excited to read this. The last book that I got was by Alice Sebold, and it's called The Almost Moon. I actually had no idea that she had this book. I've read The Lovely Bones by her, as well as Lucky. It's very similar to Lovely Bones, but it's her own take on when she was raped in college, and they were both amazingly well written. I read them both maybe 4 or 5 years ago though. So when I saw this, I knew I had to get it because I enjoyed her other works so much. It's bigger than the other works, which is great because I can actually, the bigger the book, the better. It's a mother-daughter bond that descends into murder, and that's what I knew too, because mother-daughter, I love that it's just so complex and it's so different, and I think the reason I love reading about it so much is because I'm trying to understand my own mother-daughter relationship, and every single one is so different, so reading about all these different dynamics gains perspective, and it helps me understand that it's okay, I guess. Yeah. So those are the books that I got last weekend, and I'm so excited to read them all. You know when you buy something new, whether it's books, clothing, a video game, whatever you're into, you kind of cherish this new product. I like to keep it in the bag for a while, or just the way I bought it before I make it my own, and I'm just so excited to get it, and I wanted to share it with you. Based on the questions that you've been leaving, I know that you would probably be interested in watching this, and I hope that you are, and that it wasn't too long and rambly, because I enjoy talking about it. I had a really, really good morning. It's only about 11 in the morning, but I've been up for a while. I got a lot of really good things done this morning. I got to talk to some really cool people. I had a stressful few weeks, but I'm trying to catch myself before I fall down to fall. That was not a sentence, but I'm trying to get myself back to where I was. Usually by talking to a camera it helps. So, yeah. I know you're probably saying, Michaela, why did you buy more books? Did you need any? Honestly, yeah. I mean, no, but yeah, I don't know. I cherish books. I love them. There are a lot of books I haven't read yet that I could have started reading, but a book really, I don't know. It's just, there's so much value to books that I feel like a lot of our generation pushes aside because we have Kindles and e-reads and downloads and audible.com. If I ever am sponsored by Audible, or like if you ever hear me talking about Audible in a video, just unsubscribe, because I hope I never sign a deal with them. I cannot do that. I'm so against audiobooks and e-reads. Like, a book, it needs pages. The majority of my books have post-it notes in it. They have highlighted sentences. They have underlined quotations. They have annotations and things written on the sides that I connected with or I wanted to go back to later. In one of Virginia Woolf's books, I would constantly star the side and say, like, reminder, look up so-and-so later, because she would reference someone that I didn't know, and so I would look it up. She referenced this writer in A Room of One's Own. Oh my god, what is his name? I don't know, but he didn't want his name on his tombstone. He didn't want a date. He just wanted, like, here lies the dust of, I don't know, it's some artsy thing. But I loved it, and I never knew of that, and I would have never picked up on that reference if I hadn't told myself, look up this name later. And so it urges me to learn more, and I think that's what books ultimately do. And if you haven't picked up yet by what you've just watched, what you're seeing, and what I'm wearing, I love books. And I know this video is already super long as it is, so I'm gonna go, and instead of editing, I'm going to read. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for taking time out of it to watch this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Oh, and please give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet, because I would really appreciate it. Ugh.